A season like no other! Falkirk have went through the whole league campaign and not lost once! Unbelievable! Phenomenal! Incredible! Invincible!
This is Falkirk Daft.
With Behind the Wall.
Into the box, it's Adams! And McKeever scores! Heggie lets it run, might have a chance of a shot. It's Heggie! Oh, what a goal from Alfredo Heggie!
Still alive, Dylan Tate tries to bend one,
and it's a wonderful goal! Orfield! Oh, he's back! The king is back! Scott Orfield! What a Falkirk return!
It was heartbreak at Sommerset as Falkirk lost out in the last minute. Listen, nothing was going to get won on Friday night anyway. We all know that. Unfortunately, Livingston got a result against Morton on Saturday, which means the title charge, the Wayne train, is still sitting at the platform right now. It might depart in the next week or so. We will wait and see. Hello, welcome to Falkirk Daft. I am your host, John Mackie, and it's not the Ginger God of Pod that's with me this week. He is away to Florida, a cheerleading competition. Yes, you heard that right. He is at a cheerleading competition in Florida. He watched the Ayr game on Universal Walk on Friday with 6 other Bairns and an iPhone. He's not here. Ross Wayne, the Wayne train, is in Florida. But I have with him, and we're going to have to think of some sort of alliteration or rhyming thing for Josh. Josh Heggie from Falkirk TV. It's a pleasure to have you back on Falkirk Daft.
Pleasure to be here, John.
Good to have you, mate. Good to have you. Josh, as we always say, is the one that screams and shouts in the background when Sean tries to be professional. Josh just doesn't care because he's a Falkirk Bairn through and through. Not saying that Sean isn't. Not saying that Sean isn't. But you just can't help yourself, Josh.
No, especially when there's a goal of a certain calibre, such as the one we'll talk about later.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
You just can't help but go absolutely ballistic.
Absolutely, your reaction was fantastic on Friday night, so I really enjoyed it. Josh, thanks for coming on. We can hear your dulcet tones on Falkirk TV. Have you enjoyed this season, like in terms of like being on the co-coms this season? How enjoyable has it been for you and Sean?
Yeah, it's been amazing, and obviously we couldn't pick a better season to start last year, and then the good times have really just kept on rolling. So obviously it's interesting to see how we coped with a step up in opposition, but it's good to see how we have an identity under McGuigan, and when you're watching them week in week out and you're commentating, you're maybe picking up patterns of play, but you're actually saying that's the same type of play that we scored a goal back a season and a half ago. Yeah, and you can see it's these patterns of play that when you're really trying to commentate in the game, and it's these little things you can see how well drilled they are as a unit.
Yeah, no. Absolutely, and so we're not saying that basically it is Lewis and Stuart's fault that we're in the mire for so long and that you and Sean have made us invincible and also on the verge of going back up to the Premiership. We're not saying that.
We're not saying it's not the reason, but we're not saying it's the reason. So
we all know the reason. Mr. McGuigan. But yeah, listen, it's always a pleasure hearing your dulcet tones alongside Sean. And Sean, obviously, listen, he's went on to the BBC now. Why is he not taking his partner in crime with him? It's disappointing.
Don't know. You need to take that with the BBC. Aye, it's something he always said he would try and get me a word in, so we'll see.
We'll get Josh on, obviously not played professional football, but this is Josh from Falkirk TV who's going to do co-coms on this Dundee United versus Ross County game that we've got.
Yeah, you'll not get me screaming and shouting over a Dundee United goal or whatever.
No,
so it's fine.
Exactly. But great to have you on, Josh, and thanks for being a substitute for Mr. Wayne, who's enjoying his cheerleading competition in Florida right now. Get up to anything exciting the weekend at this point? We'd like to reflect on the programme of anything exciting that you've done.
No, just it's weird having a Saturday for the football.
It is, isn't it?
I don't like it.
It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right,
no.
And there's lots of those Saturdays approaching as we hit the end of the season as well. We're going to have 2 months of it, Josh, and it just doesn't feel right, does it?
I know it's not the best. Means I can relax at the golf in the morning and not have to rush away. But other than that, it just takes away your afternoon. You're sitting there thinking, what can I do?
Maybe during we should have some sort of Falkirk Daft man-sitting club where we basically take, because everyone's going to be in the same position, right? I'm being very sexist there by saying man-sitting club, by the way. It's not very 2025 of me. But perhaps, like, if you're a Falkirk supporter, we set up some sort of care group behind the wall upstairs on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, and we all just go up there and we all just talk about Falkirk. And, you know, at 5 o'clock, we slope back down the road. I think this could be the way forward for Saturdays during the summer.
We could do what they used to do during the COVID times and just watch a 90 minutes back, and it's the best of the season. It's like...
What a great shout. Let's just watch back old Falkirk games in behind the wall every Saturday at 3 o'clock. This is Mr. Flynn, Brian, if you're listening to this, this is the way ahead for the coast season. This is how we're going to get punters. It's some sort of care group for Falkirk supporters on a Saturday afternoon. What a brilliant idea. Like, listen, copyright that. Let's charge money for it. Let's make a bit of cash on this. But it's happening this summer in behind the wall upstairs. We'll wait and see about that. Myself, as I said last week, I didn't get down to the game on Friday night. Very disappointing, because I couldn't get a lift down. So thank you for all the people that reached out to me via Twitter, via Facebook, and on this podcast saying, I'll give you a lift, John. But it was that way, like, I'd made plans with my mate, right, and he's not a Falkirk supporter, he's a Celtic supporter. So I felt, I can't even, like, it's bad pattern, isn't it, to dump off your best mate and then suddenly fuck off to Ayr and watch the Bairns when it's on the telly, and I went, just go up and watch it behind the wall. So I was sat in behind the wall. There was a good few Bairns in the behind the wall on Friday evening, and I felt like a Forces sweetheart, Josh. It was like, you know, when you're like the Forces sweetheart waiting for their man to return from war. It was a bit like that, because I was watching it on the telly, and then suddenly the three coaches from behind the wall came back to the pub, and everyone was like bouncing about, and it felt a bit like that. It felt a bit like that on Friday there. So I sat and watched it behind the wall in the end, but I had a rather good night. A few libations were had, and it's quite nice watching Falkirk on the telly though. I'm not feeling the fact that we are missing out on a Glasgow away day in a couple of weeks against Thistle.
Yeah, that is a shame, and it's also when you look at what could potentially be, you know, such a historic night. It kind of a little bit of a dampener that you don't have like as long as the night afterwards to kind of enjoy it with your mates, because by the time it'll be finished, it'll be like after 10 o'clock, and taking it back to Falkirk, place will start to shut at that time. So
I know,
not ideal.
I know, so please, before the match on that Friday, please get the half day off work. We'll see you in Glasgow City Centre for a few pints, because that's my plan anyway, because I'm on an early shift. And I thought, what is the point in going home to Falkirk when I'm working in Glasgow anyway? Finish at 1 o'clock, straight into the town. Why not? Right, listen, before we talk about Ayr, we've got a lot of stuff to get in between now and then. Let's get straight into Birthday Corner, as ever. Happy birthday to Chris McCready. Chris, happy birthday, big man. Turns 42 on Thursday, and that's from all your family and Craig. So thanks very much, Craig, for reaching out for that. I've got to also say happy birthday to Scott Cunningham. Now, Scott, if you're watching the YouTube version, is the gentleman right behind me. Where's Scott? There he is there, celebrating with the players like a madman after Sean Mackie's goal on Friday. And beside him, you can actually see Mr. Brian Flynn of Behind the Wall fame as well. So they were right in amongst it, right down the front. And Scott turns 53 on the 18th of April, so this week. And that's from Phil and Jack and all the family. So happy birthday, Scott. Scott is a great lad. I've had many a dram with Scott in the past, so happy birthday, Scott. And another one wanting to hijack Birthday Corner, Josh, is from Sue Scott. She goes, I was wondering if I could hijack Birthday Corner this week for a wedding shout out. Do we do wedding shout outs, Josh, on Birthday Corner?
Go on then. Go on then, for one time only.
Right, wedding shout out for my nephew. You've got to mention his birthday last November. So congratulations to Grant Woodburn, who's marrying his fiancée Claire on Saturday the 19th of April. He's going to miss the potential. Right, okay, now we've got our questions to be asked here, because he potentially might miss Falkirk winning the league. I would sack off the marriage. Listen, I'm pretty sure fiancée Claire is going to stay around and she will completely understand if you say, listen, we might win the league on Saturday, Claire. Can we just put it back a couple? I'm sure it'll be completely understandable anyway. But if you go down with the marriage route, Grant, congratulations to you and Claire. And Sue goes on to say, can't quite believe he's getting married on the day we could win the league at home and we're all missing it. I also want to apologise ahead of time to the bride, Claire, because I know a large part of the groom's family and friends are all going to be checking their phones throughout the meal. Let's hope we can have a big double celebration on Saturday. It's going back to the Ross situation here, Josh. There is going to be a whole group of people at that wedding crammed around a single iPhone watching the Falkirk versus Raith Rovers game. And during the ceremony, because I'm presuming, because weddings are normally kind of 3 o'clock kick-off as well, aren't they? They're all going to be sitting checking, and they're just going to be sitting, and there's just going to be this big cheer, especially with a massive Falkirk contingent going, yes! Hopefully.
Cheering, and it's not for the main course coming out.
Yeah, exactly. So congratulations to Grant and his fiancée Claire. Listen, there's always time to postpone it. I'm pretty sure, like I say, Claire will be really understanding of that, Grant. Listen, we're going to get into a topic which actually you brought up, Josh, because you said Ethan Ross's free kick was potentially the best you've seen at the stadium. Explain your working, please.
So, I just thought the technique on it was fantastic. He's quite to get the ball up over the wall and then dip and curled right in the top corner. I think the technique in that is fantastic. There's been a few shouts. I know you mentioned Mark Miller's free kick last week. Goalie should have saved that. Watch it back. Goalie palms in the net. The moment you could argue Miller, but the actual free kick itself, take away the match last minute winner, you've got to go Ethan Ross's. The only other shout I thought was Declan McManus. I think it was the last game of that season, what turned out to be.
Yeah.
That was a screamer, but he's 30 yards out. He's further away, more time for it to get up and dip. I think that's my working.
Right, okay, I said that. So Kevin, you're marking down Kevin because Kevin said Mark Miller's last minute winner against Rangers in the League Cup, September 2011. DMCP said Declan McManus's won 35 yards in the League One against Peterhead. I have to say, watching that back, it is an absolute screamer. I was right behind the goals for that as well. I remember watching it going. It was so I'm thinking maybe Declan McManus, but there's a couple of other nominations. Chris Mitchell against Hamilton. Gavin's put forward. Do you remember that one? Are you too young for that one?
I would have been there. Was that still in the Premier League, or would that be a Championship?
No, that would have been the Championship.
I would have been there, but I don't remember it.
Craig says might not have been the best one, but Russell Latapy's from about 30 yards against Motherwell was good, even though it was meant to be a cross. So I think you discount that one. You discount that, even though it's Russell Latapy. And I have to say, a sleeper was Craig McGuffey's against Peterhead when he scored the hat trick. Remember, because he scored the one from the halfway line. Did he do the free kick and then the half? I can't remember what way. I think it was the halfway line.
I think the halfway was
kick. Or was the free kick, then the halfway line, then the penalty?
I think the halfway was his second, I think.
Yeah, and he scored that free kick to get his first, which was an absolute cracker as well. So, yeah, there's a couple of contenders in there, Josh, but you're not having it.
I would accept it, McManus is on par with, but they're different types of free kicks. It's hard to judge them. But I think Ethan Ross was special. I really do.
There you go, and we'll hopefully get another one before the end of the season. Because as you said, I think Calvin Miller's against Stennismuir in the Trust Trophy as well was an absolute cracker. Before we get into the news, let's thank you to our sponsors. We mentioned them already. Behind the Wall, and as you can see, Brian Flynn behind me there. He is the proprietor of Behind the Wall. I saw him on Friday night. I greeted him like a Forces sweetheart as he returned back to the pub, and he'd had a few drams by that point as well. So remember, get up to Behind the Wall. It's a great pub. Everyone's drank there in Falkirk. Stay local and eat and drink local. Exciting news coming about the Falkirk Daft Venom, Josh. I've got big news for the Falkirk. I'm going to have to save it But there's exciting news coming for the Falkirk Daft Venom involving Falkirk Daft Live. I'll tell you off air. I'll let you into the secret off air. But there is exciting news coming with the Falkirk Daft Venom. I was very disappointed, however, Josh, when I went into the pub on Saturday or Friday night, and obviously when in Rome, I said, "Can I have a Falkirk Daft Venom?" He said, "Oh, do you mean the Blue Venom?" The barman, who I'll not name. I don't know what his name was anyway, so I couldn't name him. I said, no.
Get him sacked right now.
I said, no. I feel like an arsehole now. I said, no, not the Blue Venom, the Falkirk Daft Venom. He said, oh, we only call that Falkirk Daft Venom when there's a Falkirk Daft event on. I said, no, you don't. He said, how do you know? I said, I run the fucking podcast. That was a bit harsh of me, but I was very, very disappointed and very angry at the fact he was referring to it as a Blue Venom and not a Falkirk Daft Venom. It was terrible. Anyway,
is that now called producer Karen?
Aye, just about. But yes, get your Falkirk Daft Venom, and exciting news coming with that one. And obviously, behind the wall, fine wines, lagers, craft and cask ales, it's all happening down there. Get yourself into the buses. I'll be honest with you, I think all the buses are filled up for the rest of the home games. Raith this week, and then obviously Hamilton's going to be huge as well. But if you can get onto the bus, speak to the bar. Scotty behind the bar will take your name, or give the pub a call, get your name down for the bus. £5 for the home games, and what happens, Josh? You get your drink when you get back up to the pub, don't you? You don't get the chance to do this because you're always on co-coms.
No, I don't get to partake in the pre-match drinks, but the few seasons ago I used to take advantage of it, get a wee bite to eat for lunch, then get the bus down. So it's a great deal.
Absolutely brilliant deal, and lots of things happening behind the wall. You've got the Who tribute, I think it's Who's Who, are playing there on the 18th. The Vida Boys are doing a special showcase there on the 20th. The whiskey tasting is happening on the 25th, and our one and the only Paliamo are playing on the 26th. Speaking to Andy Haxton, who drums and is a Falkirk supporter and has brought Paliamo to Falkirk, he was actually quite happy the Thistle game got moved because he reckons they'll get a lot more people in on the 26th than they will on the 25th, which I thought, actually, you're right. So get yourself down, see Andy and the band, and I can't talk to you highly enough. Paliamo, have you checked them out yet, Josh?
Yeah, they're really good. Definitely worth listening to.
Absolutely. Get checking out on your Spotify or Apple Music, Paliamo. They're a brilliant band, and get down to see them at Behind the Wall on the 26th. Right, okay, let's get into some club news now, Josh. And goal of the season is being put up, and I saw there was a late addition by demand for Sean Mackie's to be included from Friday night. Looking down the runners and riders there, so we've got Liam Henderson against Thistle, Spencer's against Thistle, Agumans against Morton, Dylan Tate's against Airdrie, McKeever's against Celtic, Ethan Ross against Morton, Brad Spencer's against Morton, Alfie's against Raith, Scotty's first against Thistle, Scotty's against Greenock Morton, Ethan Ross's free kick, and then finally Sean Mackie's howitzer from Friday there. Goal of the season for you, Josh?
Well, it was kind of between two for me. I voted for Dylan Tate's because it's the touch to bring it out the sky. He's then sent the defender for a hot dog to open up the space.
Yep.
And then he's curled it in the top bin. It's placed far away enough for the keeper. It's dipping at the last moment. Great technique. But also, I do have a soft spot for Henderson's Raker against Thistle, because they were sitting so deep. Because obviously they'd had their man sent off, and they were sitting quite deep. So he just was like, I'm going to hit this. And it was absolute screamer.
I do like that the Henderson goal, because it's Big Hendo, we all love Big Hendo, especially because most of his goals come from back post headers. But I did see a lot of Thistle supporters saying that the keeper should have had that, and it was the boy Roberts at the time, obviously, as well, who was a very good goalkeeper, and they thought he should have had it. I'll agree with you though. I thought I put my vote as Dylan Tate's as well against Airdrie. I thought it was your reaction actually on comms for that as well was brilliant. But like I think Arfield's against Thistle was good, but I think it's a Roy of the Rovers moment. It's, for me, moment of the season, not goal of the season.
I agree. Totally agree. I think it will get votes because of the moment. Obviously, it's the thing about Scott Arfield's goals, I'd say most of them have been very similar in
Yeah,
the sense it's either one touch or two touch, and it's placed away for the goalkeeper, away from the defenders.
just
I actually
passing
think
it into the.
his goal against Morton, I think, is a better goal.
I agree.
But obviously that moment and obviously the emotional aspect of it, I think we'd gone through a bit of a tricky patch as well. So the impact of he's just signed and then he's got a goal inside, 40 seconds.
Yeah,
I can see why folk would go for it.
I do agree that I think the Morton game, the Morton goal was better. Ethan Ross's free kick, you were raving about that earlier on. Why is that not your goal of the season?
Dead ball. I don't think a dead ball should be goal of the season, but that's fun about them. As much as it was a fantastic goal.
Yeah, fair play. McKeever's against Celtic, I think, is a great shout as well. It was just the way he hit it and like he did, it was just that one. I do think there's questions over the goalkeeper on that one as well, but you can't really question Kasper Schmeichel. But it was, I think he just caught the goalie absolutely cold on that one as well. It was just a great hit from Ross as well. I mean, any one of those goals could go. I mean, Brad Spencer's. I watched Brad Spencer's against Thistle. That's very underrated. Henderson's will get all the plaudits from that game, but when you look at Brad Spencer's hit against Thistle on that one, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's great technique, and I really like that goal as well because Adams, who had only played a handful of games at that point, took his man to the byline, and you think, well, that's going out for a goal kick. That's a terrible touch, but he gets it. You can see over the season that's his move. He uses his pace, he knocks it ahead, and he uses his pace to get round. So I like the build up in that goal as well.
Yeah, no, a lot of good contenders there as well, and didn't even mention the Alfie shuffle against Morton as well, which I loved as well. But yeah, it's get voting now. I'm went for Tate. Josh's went for Tate as well against Airdrie. So, and Sean Mackie's goal, who we'll talk about in a wee bit. I think I'll be getting a few votes this week as a last minute addition to that. So we'll wait and see what happens with the goal of the season. I'm assuming it's been awarded at the recognition night this Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's the votes to be in for Tuesday.
Yeah, so there we go. We'll find out who wins that come Tuesday night. We'll have that on the podcast next week. Golf day is happening. You're a keen golfer. Josh, you getting involved in this?
I don't think I'll be at this one, but I went to the community one last time. It's always a great day, so yeah. I encourage you to go if you can. Yeah, individual prices are now available rather than just teams, so you can book that for £125. It is happening at Glen Bervey. So get yourself down there on the 24th of April. You can get in touch with commercial@falkirkfc.co.uk if you want to get involved. And a bonus is that Mark Kerr, the legend that is Mark Kerr, will be there as a guest speaker on the day. And Mark's a really good chat, to be fair. I've spoke to him in previous podcasts. He's a good lad, and he'll be a great chat. And obviously, the legend that is Sam McGuigan and club ambassador Tots, Alex Totten, will be down there on the day. All keen golfers as well. Breakfast rolls, the full shebang, 2-course lunch. Get yourself down there, get involved. Happening on the 24th of April. So get in touch with commercial@falkirkfc.co.uk if you fancy that. Retro tops. Let's talk retro tops. Wow. This has been the big talking points. Apart from the game against Ayr, the retro tops got released on Friday, and then since then it's just been this amazing kick-off of match winner and Spall. Now they released the retro tops right now. First thing, the colours have changed on both tops because I don't think O'Neill's could do those colours as they were. I don't know if that's the case or not, or if they've been changed for copyright issues. I'm not too sure. The other thing I'm going to mention, right, is something that someone pointed out to me. In fact, I'm going to out to him. DJ Rankin messaged me and said, "John, have you got the original? The third top, which was our first third top ever, the white, which a lot of people have said with the paint splashes, which is released." So I went, yeah, I've got the original. He said, "Can you dig it out and have a look at it?" Because he says, "I don't think the sponsor sits right on it." And I went,
Right enough. The bees are homes, so the bees are in line with the kind of paint splashes, and the home sits on the paint splashes. So I dug out the original, and then I looked at it and went, right enough. The bees are homes is meant to sit in the white space as opposed to over the splashes. And I don't know why that is. I've no idea why that is. But yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. It might be a difference between the replica and the match worn top. But then I did further investigating, like Taggart, and I went in and had a look at old videos of when we've worn that top, and I freezed it and I went, no, that's the bees are homes is meant to sit up there. So I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, and the colour's different, but I'm quite happy with that, Josh. I'll be honest with you, because it means I've still got the original sitting there, and not many people have got that top in this day and age. So that was that, and then you had the kick-off from Match Winner on Twitter when we are deeply committed to maintaining the integrity and heritage of our brand, which has been built on authenticity. Falkirk FC's attempt to replicate our kit and use our brand in ways that do not align with our core values undermines the legacy we've worked hard to build. Obviously, Match Winner, I don't think they're making much top these days. The legacy obviously is not done that well. But did you see the pile-on, Josh, on Match Winner?
I did. It was quite amusing on watching that on X. But I think because Match Winner, did they go bust and then different companies took them over? I think there's a story with that. I think so. Match Winner, I think, went bust, and then different companies basically bought them over and got the rights or whatever.
The intellectual rights, yeah.
Long story short, in that statement, it doesn't say we'll be taking any legal action. It doesn't say they have anything that they can complain about.
I know.
Just a bit of sour grapes, it sounds like.
Do you know what? It does sound like, it sounds like shit. We should have thought about this. We really could have done this. Though again, it's the question, because we obviously not got the Match Winner badge on the top, but could then they have put the Falkirk? I don't think they could put the Falkirk badge on if they were to replicate. So they might have had Match Winner with no Falkirk badge. I don't know how that works, but I did find it really, really funny. I replied to I jumped on the pile-on as well, and I was just like, from the Falkirk Daft Twitter account, I was like, release the core values. The people need to know. What are the core values of Match Winner? Spall jumped on as well. Now, it was a very similar kind of statement. Now, are Spall and Match Winner in bed with each other? This is what I want to know. Because Spall said, we are appalled by the recent kit reproduced by Falkirk FC, which closely imitates our design and misuses the Spall branding. There's no Spall branding on the top, I would like to just add at this point. Their reproduction does not reflect who we are or what we stand for. Sour grapes, I think, from Match Winner and Spall, because they went, some idiot in the Match Winner and Spall marketing department went, shit, we really should have done that and coined in on this. Because I know it's like, you go into Match Winner and they've got like Clyde tops and all this sort of stuff that you can buy. Mental.
Yeah, it was a strange one, but I mean, I think and obviously it went to a public vote, and I think the voting is obviously two excellent kits that you can choose from, and yeah, hopefully they can make a good sale and get some money into the club.
I do think someone probably should have checked beforehand the Match Winner and Spall saying, is this all right? But I don't think it's good. I don't think they have a legal leg to stand on. I don't think. I mean, I'm no copyright lawyer, Josh, I'll be honest with you. But a design that was 30 odd years ago, I don't know if that's going to, I don't think Match Winner or Spall will bother their arse with it. They just all, talk and no action, I reckon. But we'll wait and see.
Everyone get down to the club shop and buy them before we can't sell them anymore.
Do you know what? I went in and I'd have to admit, I ran down to the club shop on Friday and I bought the Spall one. Obviously, I've got the original of the other one. So I bought the Spall one, and I was like, between the club shop, I was like, I'm just getting this in case it's a cease and desist moment here before no one can get it. What out of the two tops, what one do you prefer?
I like the white one.
The white one. You'll be buying that then. One for the collection. There you go. If you're looking for a birthday present for Josh, that's what to get him. before we move on to the game, let's just a couple other things to mention. Check out the YouTube video of the one and only big time Chris McGill behind the Bairns, they're calling this season. It's on YouTube. You can see a day in the life of big time Chris McGill behind the scenes, making teas, making coffees, getting the kit ready, making himself look good, and selling grip socks at the same time. So get stuck into that. It's on YouTube now, and it's great to see Chris doing his stuff behind the scenes, and he's a top lad, and hopefully we'll be playing in the charity game that we're going to have very soon. More details on that to come, but yeah, top lad, and it's good to see Chris behind. You know Chris as well, Josh. He's a top guy, isn't
he? Yeah, great guy. Obviously great character as well with the players and the staff, and even us volunteers as well, always having a laugh and joke with us. So
yeah, I did see the video, and there was a moment in the game we played against the football fans in training last season where Chris took a dive in the box trying to win a penalty off of me. I was not having any of it, and someone I think it was Ruby, got a picture of it, so I did post that saying, very good Chris, but you're still a diver. And finally, news coming in this week, Alfie Agyeman signed a 2-year contract extension. Now, the support have been split on this, right? You'll read the comments. Half the people think, if we are talking about the Premier League, next thing you know, he's not a Premier League player. Well, half are like delighted at it. Where do you sit on the fence in this one, Josh?
I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
2 years of Alfie Agyeman. He's still got time to develop. And if you look how he's come on this season, I think he's a much more consistent player this year than he was last year. When you're in the Premier League, have you seen the size of the defenders you're up against in the Premier League? You need big, physical, pacey wingers. And if you've in a dogfight in that Premiership, you need a player like Alfie that can come on and just cause absolute mayhem for them. Big and strong, willing to put himself about. So I think it's a great move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you on that one as well. I don't think he's a starter. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a starter, but as a squad player and the impact that Alfie can make off the bench, where I think he's at his best. Though in saying that, I mean, he started against Celtic and he gave a Barcelona left back an absolute roasting that day. So on his day, Alfie can sometimes, I think Jamie Swinney actually put it on his tweet, he's unplayable on his day. He really can be. And I think he's a great, no matter what league we're in, I think he's a great squad player and a great, tool to have in the squad to come off the bench or start games. And he just, like we say, Captain Chaos, he doesn't know what he's going to do. Yeah, I'm sure he does. But the defenders have no clue if you come up against Alfie, and as you say, his physicality, his strength, I think it was against Dunfermline where he was just getting the ball into the corners and no one could get it off him. I think he's a great player to have around, and I was actually really happy that Alfie signed a new deal because I do love the big fella, and I'm just delighted that the Captain Chaos reign continues at Falkirk. So delighted with that.
Absolutely, and when you're putting together a squad, you can't have just a team of guaranteed starters.
No.
You need players that are going to be happy at coming on at 60 minutes and trying to basically break into the team. You need those types of players, and obviously Alfie, he's never had a dead cert, maybe 10 or 15 games starting in a row.
Yeah.
But he's happy to come on, try and win his place in the team for next week, and he takes his chances when he gets them.
And I love that about him.
I league this year. So.
Yeah, I absolutely love that about Alfie as well. That he just, the thing is, he'll come in and take his chances, and then there'll be one game where he kind of falls off a wee bit. I think it was Raith Rovers in the cup when he got hooked at half time, and whether the previous week he'd been unbelievable against them. He scored that absolute brilliant goal against them as well. But I know, I'm delighted Alfie's signed up. I'm a big fan of him. So you just need that maverick in the team. He's an absolute maverick. Love it. Absolutely.
And one last thing on Alfie. And if anyone wants to know anything about the guy, it was after he just scored the last minute equaliser against Hamilton, where he was coming out to do some press. The boy looked absolutely gutted. And it's like, mate, you've just got us a great point. He's like, but I missed that chance. I should have passed it. I should have done this. And he was absolutely gutted. It meant so much to him that he wanted to win the game, and he felt terrible he'd missed a chance. It's like, mate, you've just rescued us a point.
Aye.
So it means so much to him playing for the club. So it's great to have players that it means that much to them.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Right, well, let's talk about the game against Ayr on Friday night, and we're going to do it in the company of one of our guest pundits. And this week, it is Grant Prenderleith.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Grant, we come to you. Obviously, it's the first time you've been on Falkirk Daft. You're a Falkirk supporter through and through, but you played the game as well. You've got a stunning CV of playing for the likes of Stennismuir, Sauchie, Bowness.
That was no yesterday. A wee while back now. Probably, I think I hanged the boots up maybe 13 years ago. Maybe.
Is it that long? Is it? Has it been 13 years? Eh?
I had hair back then, so it certainly was. It wasn't yesterday.
You've made the fact that you're on Transfermarkt, Grant, I think makes you a player, because you're on there on Transfermarkt. You know, finished off your career with Bathgate. Is that right?
Aye, that wasn't too long ago. That was more helping a friend out who ran the team and getting a few players in just to get them through a season. So.
All right, and then well, there you go. It's got on Transfermarkt. You finished off your career at Sauchie in 2013-2014 season. There you go. 14 League One appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. Is that right, Grant? Or do you want to? Have they got it?
It may be correct. I can even confirm or deny. I can remember the goal was against Dumbarton. That's at Stennismuir, so I can remember that game.
There you go. There you go.
Actually, my debut as well was at Livingston, so it was actually good going back up there last week after a while.
Brilliant. Well, so say, Josh, we've got a man who's played the game professionally here, so you know he'll give us a good insight to what happened on Friday. Grant, this is the first time we've had you on. We need to ask you your background story and how you became a Falkirk supporter.
Yeah, obviously I've kind of always been involved and supported the club through my younger days. Dad's probably more a supporter or a fan, so it just kind of was always going to happen. Went to the games at Brockville when I was a young boy with my friend Mark, whose gran and grandpa still stayed 2 doors down from my mum and dad. Mark's grandpa and his mate used to take the tours along in the primary school days and kind of pass us under the turnstile. And then we started getting caught, it was a pound to get in, so it wasn't bank busting at that time, but it was back in the Brockville days.
Yeah. And we've been asking all this season, most disappointing player you've seen in a Falkirk jersey?
After last week's performance, Ross Wayne.
I'm glad you brought that back up. Fantastic. Let's just keep that rolling.
Well, he's not here, so there's an opportunity to.
Absolutely. I've been releasing the videos. That reminds me, I've not released an angle in a wee while, so I'll have to do a new one today. So keep your eyes out on the social media for another look at Ross Wayne's half-time attempt at hitting the crossbar. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Loved it. Let's get into the game. Let's go. And you guys were both at the game on Friday. I was sitting watching it in behind the wall. Over 2,100 Bairns attending the game. Josh, great support as ever.
Absolutely. The fans were loud. They were singing, and it's great when you as an away side are much louder than the home side. It's that's something to be proud about with our fans, especially this season, has been just they're so vocal right from, I'd say, 20-30 minutes before the game till well after the final whistle.
Yeah, a lot of people saying it's the best atmosphere of the season. Grant, do you agree?
Yeah, I think the enclosure behind the goals helps as well, because it curtails the noise and kind of makes it echo around the supporters, so it keeps the atmosphere going as well. But certainly well before kick-off we were in, and it was, as Josh was saying there, it was well after kick-off by the time everybody got out, and it was even at half-time, 15-20 minutes, it was continuous, it never stopped.
I did hear rumours that the Elliott's bus left Falkirk at 2:30 in the afternoon to get down to Ayr. And so I think it would be a few people with a wee bit of sauce in them, and I knew a few boys that were heading to Glasgow and then down to Ayr on the train as well. So it's a good day out, isn't it? It's an old school stadium, Grant. It reminds you of Brockville. It's got that feel, hasn't it?
It's definitely got the newer stand, which brings it a wee bit modern, but the general feel about it, and you say what you want, but the toilets are the old-fashioned terrace toilets where you're in between the turnstiles and a brick wall, kind of.
Yeah.
It's maybe not as pleasing as it sounds, but it does bring back.
I love that. I love it. Love Sommerset Park for that. Josh is obviously a young pup, so he doesn't remember the joys of Brockville and that side of things. I do think, however, Josh, the stand that and I think I've talked about this in the podcast before. The stand that Ayr have put in on the other opposite the main stand is something that I think would complete the stadium at our place, i.e. it takes the hospitality back off the council, for one, if we were to put in the hospitality suites, and that kind of like almost terracing section in front of it. I think it looks great, and I think it's a really smart move, and probably a very, I guess, economical move from Ayr. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that stand is certainly much better than anything they've had before. I like the fact there's a mix. There's the kind of safe terracing bit down the front. You've got the seats up the back. The only thing that they were missing is they never built a gantry, and that BBC angle was horrific.
Oh, do you know what? It was absolutely. Obviously, watching it on the telly, it's so low down, so you couldn't really see over the other side. I thought the Falkirk TV angle was a lot better from your side than the angle you guys had. So I don't know why they would have used the other stand. I'll be a technical issue. You can probably tell us more, Josh. But I thought actually your angle was better than what they had.
Well, that's because we were on the gantry. We were actually slightly higher up, so we got a much better view. And I think that's. I don't know why you would build a stadium with ambitions to get to the Prem and not build a proper gantry in your new stand.
Yeah, interesting. Good insight, actually, because I did think that when watching the telly. I was like, that's not a great angle for because you can't see the other side of the stand because it wasn't high up enough. First, I mean, as we expect, Falkirk came pretty fast. But we should say beforehand, unchanged side. Were you surprised at that, Grant, or do you think it was...
No, I think McGuigan, he has said before, when guys deserve their chance, he sticks with the team, and it probably was the right team going into the game. We knew it wasn't going to be the same way of playing as last week, but the team that started definitely deserved to retain their place, and I think the result nearly justified it, apart from the way at the end. But yeah, it was first half, there was chances there as well. I thought Scotty had that one, maybe it was the first 10-15 minutes. It was very similar to his opening goal last week, same position wise, and had a chance to maybe put us 1-0 up. But and obviously Nicky's kept in as well, so it was
I mean, all the chances seemed to fall for Scott Arfield in that first half, Josh. A couple of a lot, probably more half chances than full chances, but with Scotty's quality, you were looking at maybe him doing a wee bit better with some of them.
There was, I think, the one that went just wide. He probably should have been hitting the target, but the chances don't fall for Scotty. He gets himself in the right positions, and he just uses all his years of experience of playing, and he knows the right places to pick up these wee pockets of space. So I think that's something that I've noticed. The first half of the season would make a lot of chances, but kind of would never get in the final position. Like with all the creative plays, it's great, and then we couldn't actually create a clear cut chance. Scotty just knows the places to be to actually create the chance. So.
As Grant said as well, Josh, great save from Nicky in that first 10 minutes from Curtis Main, who was a bit of a baller most of the game anyway. But again, Nicky just showing his class with the save and a great shot stop. Yeah,
he got down really low to his right hand side, got a good strong fist at it to push it wide, and I think that shows how much Nicky's grown as he's over the course of the season, and actually makes you think what he could have been if he'd got regular game time last year and kind of a full season at it instead of the month about. He's got such a confidence about him just now, and every time a shot comes his way, you're almost expecting him to save it because he's shown he can pull off some spectacular saves.
Yeah, thoughts on Nicky this season, Grant? What have you made of him?
Yeah, I would say last year I think we're having the two of them. It was probably agreement may have been in place for the split game time, and McGlynn mentioned that a few times last year that he was kind of, without coming out and saying it, I think he alluded to that was probably some form of agreement. So getting the regular game time, Nick, he's been tremendous this year. Some of the saves, even his kicking's improved dramatically as well, and probably no part of that's having an old friend in Alec Connon as a goalie coach who's been around the game for a long time. So having somebody like Alec working with the guys regularly has probably brought him out and probably words of wisdom in his ear at night for his father. Probably. But he's definitely up there. There's a few of them can be this year, but Nicky's done justification for player of the year as well. A few vital saves in close games that's kept the points. You don't really get the accolade for that. It's the goal scorers that normally get it. But if you look at when we could potentially have dropped points when Nicky's saves or went behind, then he'd certainly put his name in the hat for that.
Yeah, and there's certainly been games where Nicky's not had a lot to do as well, and he's pulled off saves. We were talking about, I think on last week's podcast, about goalkeeper in the Championship team of the season. I think this between three, Pryor, Ferry and Nicky. I think with all the goals that Callum Ferry's currently losing, and no fault, probably not all of a fault of his own, that he kind of rules himself out. So it's between, I guess, Nicky Hogarth and Jerome Pryor. Grant, from who would you go for? And obviously you say Nicky because he's...
No, I would go for that, but you still stick with your colours, don't you? So, Nicky, again, thoroughly deserves it. There's no blue blood coming through in that suggestion, but definitely his performance is justified. We see him every week, so I know probably people will look at the results and the back four and that, but we see what he does game in, game out, and one deserves it if he gets that at the end of the season. Yeah,
Josh, stat-wise, I'm guessing you'll have your finger on that. I think Nicky's probably got the most clean sheets in the league.
Yeah, it does. I think Callum Ferry has the most saves, individual saves, but Nicky Hogarth's well clear the clean sheet chart. And as you mentioned, there's been times in games where he's not had much to do, and then a counter attack comes maybe 85 minutes, and he produces a fantastic save. I think the most recent game, Airdrie, when it was 1-0 and we were kind of pushing, he kept us in it for so long in that game. I think Airdrie could have been 2 or 3 great chances, and he's just there, either a big block or pushing one off the line. So
yeah, he rightly got man of the match in that game as well. He was really, really good that game. Coming to you, Grant, obviously as a pacey, tricky winger yourself back in the day. Ethan Ross, Calvin Miller, a couple of chances for them as well. Yeah. Again, just they seem, I mean, you'll be able to tell us better, Grant, like with Gary Oliver in that kind of false 9 role, they seem to come a bit more alive and with him playing.
Seems to be McLean's always played that, and he has said that he just needed the players to fit his method and his style. So he's now obviously the board have backed him, and he's getting the players that he wanted. And it's always been the case. Even Gary Oliver is doing a great job, and McIver done it, or McIver, however you pronounce it, done it before. But we get Ross, and I'm glad Ross was probably the one that always was sacrificed when we had Morrison. Calvin was getting the regular game time. It was always like a switch between them, and you always felt Ethan Ross just needed that game time to start maturing even further, and he's obviously shown that this year. And Brad Spencer's obviously one of the best players in the team, but I think Calvin Miller on his games by far probably one of the best technical players in the league as well. He's unstoppable when he's playing, and he showed that at times as well on Friday night. Just there had 2 or 3 players around him sometimes, and he could drop a shoulder and lose them in a blink of an eye.
He came close with that one that was just kind of tipped past the goalkeeper at 0-0. We'll talk about his other chance a bit later on, which happened in the second half. Ayr, however, before we got our goal, came very, very close. George Oakley off the bar, which it's one of those ones that could have, because it kind of came off the bottom of the bar. It's like one of those ones that could either go in or come out, but luckily, Josh, it came out. But George Oakley, just a pest again to Falkirk.
Yeah, the cheat that he is, he's just always getting himself. Not to be fair, no, it was a great effort. The kind of floated ball in towards the back post, and I do think the angle's not the easiest for him. So the fact he got it on target was impressive. I do think Nicky makes himself big. I don't know if Nicky got a touch on it. It's hard to see. It was down the other end, but certainly I think he made the angle impossible to score. So I think in the end, Falkirk managed to defend it well enough. But he is an awkward player. I thought Main and Oakley made life really difficult for the centre halves. Oakley, I was glad to see him subbed in the end.
I was delighted with that.
It just, you don't like to play against them.
I mean, when I saw the Ayr team and I saw that they went the 2 up with Oakley and Main, I thought, I wouldn't have, as Colin Hendo at the back, I thought I wouldn't fancy coming up against those two. But in fairness, I thought Falkirk defended really, really well throughout the match.
Yeah, no, we touched on it earlier, it was a totally different style, and you've seen the way Scott Brown set them up. They just went for big units. They were all heads and shoulders above the majority of our players, and they could all play football as well. So they had a kind of Livingston style about them. If you look at the way they shaped up size wise, and that was a different side to Falkirk. We're not used to getting battered or possession against us for a long time as well. So to show that character is really good as well, because I feel, I'm saying if, when we go up, that we'll come across that style a lot more next year, and your kind of Kilmarnocks, your Dundees, your maybe St Johnstone, your Ross Counties, it will all be that type of football. So we're not going to get to play tiki-taka that we're used to in the Championship. So we're going to have to get used to playing different ways, and that's going to be a really good example and a good test in how I think we'll need to
we do know, because Ross isn't on the podcast this week, we'll have none of that chat until it's done, all right?
I'm the same. As much as the Wayne train's going strong at the moment, until the points are on the board, it's not going to.
There we go. A guy I want to mention right now is Keelan Adams. Again, I think over the last month or so, and we're talking about the lead up to the goal, I think Keelan Adams has been absolutely firing, Josh, and we saw obviously his involvement in the goal when, again, we talked about earlier, getting to that whole way of getting down the right, using his pace, using his strength, getting to the byline, which is a dying art. And Keelan Adams seems to be his instruction from Shaughan McGuigan. Get to the byline. I was speaking to Ken McAllister about it at the last Falkirk Daft Live. I think Kevin gets really infuriated with our wingers and the inversion of the wingers, because you know what Crunchy was like, Grant. It was just like, I'm getting to the byline, I'm getting a ball into the box for the striker, and that's what he did. Keelan Adams seems to have that about him as well, and I think it's an instruction that's get to the byline, cut back, and you're going to get a result with that. And as we saw, Josh, we got the goal off it. We'll speak about it in a minute, but Keelan Adams really seems to have come back in form in the last kind of month and a half.
No, absolutely. I think Keelan Adams he's actually become such a crucial cog in the way that Falkirk played this season. Because we play inverted wingers, and I think this is where we spoke last time, is when Calvin Miller's playing on that side, him cutting inside opens up so much space for Adams to occupy. Or Adams being there allows Miller to drift inside, so it works both ways. But one thing I love about Keelan, and the more you watch him, every touch he takes is forward. A lot of the times at this standard of football, a ball gets fired in, a player takes a touch at their feet, and then they'll drive forward. Not Keelan. He'll take his first touch forward, and it just takes players out of the game. And his touch for the first goal is actually behind him, and he uses his left foot just to slide the ball on his right. And I think that's such an underrated touch.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to feel for Finn Yeats, obviously, who was our right back last week. I mean, we know that Finn's more of a midfielder, but again, you're going to struggle getting that midfield, especially in the Championship as well. But you feel for Finn Yeats that he's not had the chance. But I've been so impressed, Grant. I don't know how impressed you have been of Keelan this season, how he's obviously just grabbed that jersey from the moment he's come into his team, and he's just not let it go.
Yeah, obviously, we've unearthed a gem in that one. We've a couple of them now, so I think he's young as well, and you find younger players, they've nothing to fear. So the old school kind of experience, they've always got that reserved and laboured approach, whereas young guys, they've nothing to lose. So having that dynamic engine as well, the dynamic engine he's got, Josh, everything's forward. So he's always, even if he takes a bad touch, he's probably 70-30 to win the ball before the defender anyway, with his speed. So he's up and down non-stop as well. So yeah, again, another one, you can throw his name at the hat for player of the year.
I think I think without a doubt he makes the Championship team of the year. Right back. I don't think there's any other right back that comes near Keelan Adams this season in terms of the Championship. But it was his run to the byline, his cut back, which eventually fell for Big Saki, who again, left back, I think Sean's been brilliant. I think he's been really, really good this season when he's been at that left back position. But his technique, and Grant, I'll come to you because you played the game. What about the technique for that half volley that just flies into the bottom corner?
No, that's a hard thing to do. And again, seeing one of the half volleys that just float a couple inch above the ground as well, or even a pass, is just something about it. It's got something you just I know it as well. So Probably does that in training regularly, but to do it in a game, how many of them go for the bar? So actually, the one that went on target's the one that counted for us. So yeah, same as last year as well with Sean. Obviously, he was out of the team. He got in the team and then got injured. And Leon took his place last year, and then Sean got back in and flourished. So he must be an end of season player because again, he's came into more of a game towards the end of the season as well. So
I remember the end of the season last year.
Again.
He was absolutely unbelievable at the end of the season. Remember, I just always remember that scissors kick he hit against Alloa in the last game. I was like, Jesus Christ! It was interesting. I was working on Super Scoreboard yesterday, and Marvin Bartley was on the show, and I was speaking to Marvin. We were chatting about the Falkirk Ayr game. And he said, who scored for you? Because he hadn't seen it. I said, Sean Mackie. I said, mate, go and have a look at it. It's an absolute worldie. Like, the way he's hit it. He said, he actually said, I'm not surprised. His technique is, like, when he was playing at him, said his technique is absolutely unbelievable. But goes to show it, Josh, you were on commentary to see the goal. We'll listen to Josh's reaction on the commentary to that goal. But is it going to get a chance of one goal this season on Tuesday night?
It's certainly got a chance. It's just such a sweet strike, the connection. I mean, Grant mentioned how he's kept it that low. I know mine certainly would have been out the stadium if I'd tried that. So the technique, I mean, we've seen him have cracks before, and he just got such a... I mean, he strikes the ball the same way he tries to go into a tackle, and that's full force. So it's no wonder it's beat the goalkeeper. Just excellent technique. Fired, and it's gone through a sea of bodies and just curled right in. Past the goalkeeper who didn't have a chance. But it's interesting you mentioned Mackie's form. He's actually the player with the highest points per game ratio.
Is that right?
2.44 points per game when Saki plays or starts.
Better than Oliver. Because obviously we've got the fascinating Gary Oliver start of any game that Gary Oliver starts we don't lose.
Gary Oliver's second.
Really? That's interesting. That is interesting. Playing for that, is Sean Mackie? Is Sean Mackie out of contract? There was just a year extension he got last season.
He got a year extension, so I think he is out of contract.
It'll be interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him getting something.
Yeah, I don't think there's many left out of contract because when you look at down the squad, I'm just trying to think who's out of contract. Leon McCann's got another year to run. Ross McKeever might be potentially out.
Roscoe signed an extension this year.
So he did. So I don't think there's, apart from...
last week, was there not? There was only about 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't think there's many out of contract at the end of the season. So, Sean, I think, I would definitely keep him. I think if we were to go up to the Premiership, we need a better left back, but... As we were talking at the start, you need that squad, Josh, and I think Sean's more than adequate. He's played at that level before, and I think, he's done enough to show himself as being a left back and certainly a squad left back going forward.
And in the Premiership, you're going to need players that, as you know, will play sometimes 3 games in a week at some points. Might be rotation if. He also can fill in at centre half.
Yeah.
If we ever moved to a back three, he could slot in to the left to a back three. Obviously, he can play left back, so he's quite a versatile player and someone that just loves defending. And I think you need that in the Premiership.
Yeah. He doesn't have the name Saki for a reason, for no reason that is. Great time to get a goal, going into half time, 1-0 at half time, and then Ayr really, I think, came for that. I think first half we kind of had. I think Ayr probably had the second half, Grant, despite the fact we probably had the better chances.
Yeah, no, I would say it was always they were going to come out. They're fighting for second. Livingston winning last week and the 3-point deficit they went in the game with. So second and third's a massive difference in this league as well. The way the playoffs are structured to suit the team coming down. So they were always going to have to try and claw something back. So I think as much as their mindset would be to get a second goal, we had to be cautious that they were going to come out like that. And fair play, as you mentioned earlier, we defended really well throughout right for the front, right to the back. So yeah.
I thought defending was excellent. I really do. I thought Cole Donaldson, was just really, really good. I think he's had a real return to form. Talk about Keelan Adam. I think Cole, since he's come back in and established himself back into the team, I think he's been really excellent. I thought he led like a captain on Friday night. However, probably the big chance came from a mistake from Ayr. where the pass lands in front of Calvin Miller's feet. He goes through on goal, Josh, and he fires it over when he really should be putting it in the back of the net.
So I was first viewing. I did think I was disappointed, and I've been thinking about it a lot. Obviously, the pitch wasn't in a great condition.
No, it was terrible.
It was
was
sticky.
awful.
It was bobbly. I think if that's on a good park, he slides it past the goalie on the ground. I don't think he's trusted that on this pitch. He's like, it's going to take a bobble and we're going to hit it sweet enough to pick my spot. So he's gone for the laces. And probably the wrong choice. Probably should have just tried to place it anyway. But I think the pitch has maybe been on his mind as he's been pulling the trigger.
Do you agree, Grant?
Aye, no, definitely. I think as a fan, you see it and you criticise it, but if you're as a player, it's harder to do than you think it is. Not being Mr. Prolific goal scorer myself, so
you got listen. You got your one mate in League One.
No, I missed probably 99 out of 100 of them. So I know exactly the feels. No, but no, I think if that was the fault of one person in the team on current form, it would have been him who I did faulty. So as Josh said, I think at home he put it in the back of the net, but we just take it.
Rang changes not long after that. Gary Oliver came off, Scott Arfield came off, Barney Stewart and Aidan Nesbitt coming on. I guess this is a bit of a turning point, Josh, in the type of football that we played, because we went from playing the Falkirk game, or when I say the Falkirk game, we've got different ways of playing, but it was unusual. We kind of went a bit more direct after Big Barney came on.
I don't think that we went that much more direct. I think, obviously, we can fire the ball into Barney's head, which we can't necessarily do with Oliver. Although, a shout on Oliver, the way he used his body against McMahon and Stanger on Friday night was immense.
I thought it was showed. Absolutely, should mention that because the experience really shone through in that game. I thought on Friday.
The amount of times that he's second favourite by far to win the ball, and he just knows his right place to. There was one where he just used his strength to back into, I think it was Stanger, control the ball dead, turn, and then he ends up getting wrestled to the ground to win us a free kick on halfway. And there was another one where he times his jump so that he doesn't win the header, but he jumps in the box. The header then hits him in the back of the head to then divert possession back to Falkirk. So just such a great, intelligent performance from Gary Goals. But Barney, I think he's also got that same type of intelligent brain. He knows the spaces to occupy. He maybe just doesn't have the composure that Gary has. Yeah,
I was reading actually an article. It was put out by David Eck. I don't know if anyone's had the chance to read it. If you're not, go and look it up. It was an interview with Barney, and like his brothers, both one goes to Oxford and one goes to Cambridge, and they're saying he got all the physical attributes. But he's one of these guys that seems really annoying because he's really good at every sport. Probably like Grant, to be fair. But he was playing like Gaelic football. He was playing rugby. Apparently, he was marked out as like he was like a champion tennis player as well. And he's ended up playing football and obviously still did his uni course and working behind the scenes at Falkirk as well. So I think it just endears him in the Barney army further to it. But yeah, there was a slight change of play, I think, and I don't know if it was intentional, Josh, like you said, but Barney could have won it for us, really. It was a big chance, Grant. Great ball in from Sean Mackie, who we spoke about earlier. And Barney, it just seems like a very Barney header that he should be putting in the back of the net.
Yeah, no, it's one of the ones that, again, you're looking back on, and it was another opportunity. He's doing well, obviously adapting for coming for the uni kind of league. Probably scores at a uni level as well, just coming up against a different calibre of player. Probably scores at a League Two as well. But I said that before he came on. I said to the boys I was standing with, I felt that game was actually calling for a Barney Stewart goal. I just had, I had a feeling about it that Barney was going to come and just the way they were playing. We were kind of pulling, sitting back, and it just needed that out ball. I think that's why we maybe brought Barney on for Gary, just to give that in behind option as well, to relieve the pressure a wee bit maybe. But when he's got some leap on him as well, so especially for the opposite end Terraces, and you're seeing it the full length of the pitch and the height he got above there, which they're no small players either. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I think, 2-0, the game was dead and buried, but it was in that last 10 minutes where kind of game management fell away. Josh, I don't know if it was the changes. Obviously, Alfie came on for Ethan Ross, Luke Graham came on for Call, but the game management just kind of fell a wee bit in that last 10, Josh, and obviously it probably led to the goal that they got.
So I always feel that it's dangerous when you make a centre half sub. And obviously Cole's, I think, was knock related. I actually noticed in the first 5 minutes of the game, Cole makes a challenge and he stays down a little bit, and straight away Tom and Luke starting warm up and nothing happened. Played on. He played fantastic. Cole. We talked about the way he throws his body at the ball to put his body in the line, get deflections. I think he just had a slight niggle that at that time in the game you can't take chances with. So bringing Luke on, and I think it's Luke's man that scores. Ethan Walker, I think it's. But see, when you're in a game of that high intensity, coming in cold from a sub, it's so hard. So I'm not blaming Luke in any way, because but I do think it makes his job a lot more tricky to try and hold that line.
Yeah. Grant, it was a really good ball, and I think it was Mackenzie, was it, that sent the ball in to Walker, but he just fell, and I guess you'll be able to tell us better, that Luke just lost his man for a minute, and Ethan Walker shouldn't be getting in front of him.
The boy's been a bit nippy as well. He's better to it, but taking nothing away from him is a cracking finish. And again, how many times you see that going past the other side of the post in a game for any team? So the fact he's put in the back of the net as well, you've got, pains you to say it, but you've got to give him a bit of credit for the finish as well, and beats Nicky and just that wee bit sharper than Luke as well, I suppose. You see the folk are crawling, which Tam should have came on, but would that have made a difference? I don't think so. think so. You got to give them credit where credit's due, I think.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know how the Ethan Walker managed to. I didn't see the first yellow. I saw the second yellow, but Josh, you might be able to tell us better. Did you get the first yellow? Was it for celebrating, maybe?
I personally think it was 2 yellows in quick succession. I think it would have been one for the challenge and then one for mouthing off.
Oh,
because I never. That's my opinion. That's not confirmed at all. Don't have any sources to back that up.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the first yellow either. I think he's booked him because there was quite a delay between the first yellow and then him pulling out the red. So I think he's then said something. Ref said, "Right, see ya."
Right. Okay, because I couldn't work out, because I hadn't seen the first yellow given, and then suddenly he's got a red card. I was like, oh, fair enough. But yeah, it was just quite frustrating, Grant, because, if it had been the other way about, where we'd scored the last minute, it would have felt like a win, but to be, not see it out for the first game, and it's not the first time it's happened this season. We look back at the Dunfermline game, or you look back at, I'm just trying to think, Livingston, and we've not seen out those last kind of closing bits. It's like we've switched off mentally. I mean, that must be really frustrating for Shaughan McGuigan.
Yeah, I mean, I've made the bus journey home a lot longer as well. I think you get the 3 points, everybody's at that stadium bouncing. It was just that. Obviously, the noise was still a bit killed. Like, it cut the atmosphere walking out the stadium. It was quite a quiet place, and a lot of heads were a bit down. Given we're still clear at the top, so I think you win that game, you go into the back on your bus and you're up the road. Job's nearly done, So, aye.
In saying that though, Josh, it was the way we lost. Well, not lost the game. The way we drew the game. But if you'd said, and I said it in the podcast last week, I predicted it'd be a draw. And if you'd said at any point you'll get a draw down at Sommerset, you would have snapped your hand off for that,
That was the general feeling amongst Sean and myself as well. We said Sommerset Park. There's only been 2 teams this season that's won there, and it's been Hibs and Livingston.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tricky place to go. They're a well organised side. In fact, we managed to get a draw, just a point closer to sealing the deal.
That's it. 1 point, and all we need is in our own hands. We've got the point now. All we need is to see more. 1 out of 3, and we've lost 5 games this season. When you look at the table, you go, we've actually lost 5 games this season. So 1 win out of 3, and 2 of those games are at home. So all in our own hands. Disappointing way to end the game, but here is what Shaughan McGuigan had to say afterwards.
John, how do you sum up that game tonight?
Just what I said to the BBC cameras, to be honest with you. I thought it was a cracking game for Championship football, great advert for Championship football, very end-to-end game from start to finish. Nicky's had a really good save from Main early in the game. Harry Stone's had an amazing save from Calvin Miller, and we had loads of other opportunities, shots and blocks, and maybe our finishing could have been a little bit better. But virtually in the stroke of half time, Sean's came up with that great strike, and I thought over the whole of the first half, I thought we probably just deserved that. Second half didn't start so well, encouraged some pressure onto us, giving silly free kicks away in bad areas, but we were always a threat in the counter-attack. Calvin's got a great chance to maybe put the game to bed through, he's done well to get in a good position to intercept the ball and break on them, and he's got a bit excited and went for a blast rather than a kind of like placing it in a corner, which he probably should have done. And then we had a few warnings, balls coming in the box, someone defended and someone didn't defend, and when we didn't defend them, at least Nicky was there to save them, but unfortunately one too many came in and we just lost that goal quite late, which obviously frustrating because we could have been in an even stronger position, but it's a good point. It's a point closer. It's a point closer to where we want to get to. We need to get to 74 points. So now on 70 points. 3 games to go. If we can take 4 points from these 3 games, 4 points from a possible 9, we want to try and get 9 points, of course we do. But, if we can get 4, then the league is ours.
And it really was a tremendous strike from Shaun, not something we see that often from him, but welcome, especially with the time in the game it happened.
Absolutely, no, it was a great strike. We've all seen Shaun striking the ball, and generally it's in the rose head, but he's caught that one really well. It's low in a corner, which is exactly where it should be. And well done to Shaun. It was a great strike, and I feel that it was worthy. I think the team were worthy of being a goal ahead at half time. I thought our performance in the first half was excellent. It was a really, really good performance, but Ayr played their part in the game as well, because Nicky's made a great save as well at the back post. He's tipped one on at the bar, so Nicky's had a couple of great saves, but I thought performance was really, really good. Second half Ayr put us under a bit of pressure, but as I say, we stood up to most of it, and when we didn't, Nicky was there, but unfortunately there was one opportunity that we didn't deal with, and it's ended up in the back of our net.
Josh, you are about probably after the game. What was John? Did you bump into John? Did you get a feel of his mood? I don't think he's happy with that outcome.
John's a bit of a perfectionist. He loves to win, and he doesn't like not winning. So obviously, I think he was gutted in the way in which we drew that game. I do think he's at the stage though where he's seen the positives, and he's not going to overreact to last minute equaliser in a game that was a tough game against a good side when we're in the position we're in.
Yeah, and I mean, and Grant, he says 4 points. We know it's 3. We know we all need 3 to.
I thought the grain train was still in America.
It is, but even I think a 20-goal swing is unsurmountable.
It's for Livingston scored more than 3 goals a game this year, isn't it? So,
yeah, exactly. Don't worry, I looked into that as well. Yeah.
So it could be obviously Friday could clear things up a bit for Saturday, but it's funny because I always thought Partick Thistle was going to be the game, and obviously it could still turn out to be that. Yeah. And just when you've got the man behind you, I was talking to him a few weeks about it because he had organised a whiskey tasting in the pub, and it's the same day. So I'd asked him what the question if he says the whiskey tasting runs unless Falkirk can win the league and it gets cancelled. So if you're half a whiskey enthusiast in Falkirk, then if the whiskey tasting gets cancelled,
is that the one upstairs at
the Maidenheads,
on the 25th? Yes. We'll get down. down to the whiskey tasting if you're not going to the match, of course. I'm sure it'll be enjoyable.
Right now we've got 2 tickets.
And if you want to buy your tickets off Grant, if you're a whiskey enthusiast who isn't a Falkirk enthusiast, Grant's your man to buy tickets off it. In actual fairness, I do think a draw was probably, it's hard to say with blue tinted specs on, but a draw probably was a fair result for both teams. And Ayr gave as good as they got, I think, and fair play to them. I think they'll do okay if they do end up in the playoffs and we end up winning the league. We will see. Your thoughts on the game, however? Stuart kicks off saying thought both teams played some decent stuff in what was a really poor surface to be playing championship football on. Would have taken a draw before the game, but disappointing to throw 2 points away with some poor game management at the end, as we sort of talked to. The surface itself, there'll be a debate ongoing about artificial surfaces. It did look like a bit of a tatty field, Josh.
Yeah, it was. The bit that was the worst was just in front of the dugouts halfway, was just complete mud bath. And the more the game goes on, players running across it, it just tears up the pitch. I've seen Sunday League pitches better than that.
Yeah, I mean, it really does make a mockery of the artificial surface argument, especially when you even see the Premiership, some of the states of the pitches are up there as well. Paul says, a hard game against a right good team. We weren't at our best. Draw probably a fair result. Heads up and onwards to Raith. Another Paul says, best away atmosphere in a very long time. The noise through half-time was epic. The game, some really neat stuff at times, some ropey. The press was working well in the second half, but the deep defending in the last 10 is what cost the 3 points. We needed a win and a draw, so 1 down, 1 to go. Do you think we defended a bit too deep, Grant?
Naturally happens. You always drop that bit further, and you run the risk if you don't drop getting caught in behind. So you're protecting Nicky to an element as well by dropping.
Yeah.
Especially as much. As I rate the back four, I think they do something we do lack is a bit of speed in the back two, no matter who plays. So you come up against a nippy striker, you run that risk, and especially as the tired legs as well, and they bring on fresh bodies. It's even more a disadvantage. So I think naturally we do drop, gives Nicky that element of protection as well. So it was always going to happen. So if we don't drop, I think you run risk. So it's hockey hindsight to say that, I think.
Yeah. Graham has a similar point. Probably sat a bit too deep at the end, but that's easy to say with hindsight. A good battling point at a difficult venue. Neither team played great, but it's another point closer to winning the league. Every game will be tough. Martin says Barney's sub didn't work and we became aimless in the last 10 minutes. An enjoyable game and a great atmosphere. Not a disaster, just a delay. A lot of people talking about the Barney sub, as we talked about earlier on. Josh, you didn't see it that way though.
I didn't see it as a negative that it was. I think Barney looked lively. Obviously, he had that chance that he could have scored. I think some of his link-up play was excellent. There was one that he took on the half turn and played out to, I think it was Alfie as well.
Yeah.
So he did create his chances. He did win his individual battles. Some of his pressing again was excellent.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maybe a game for McKeever instead of Barney, just for a bit more experience. But
maybe.
It's hard. That's why McGlynn gets paid his money, to make those calls.
I know. We talked about, actually, we were bigging up Alfie earlier on, but I don't think he had the impact we would have probably wanted him to have. I don't think he got the chances or looked as great as he has when he's come off the bench previously, actually, on that. But, listen, we know what we get with Alfie. We just don't know. We just don't know. It's just chaos every time. The gaffer says, tough shift for the lads. First half was very good, not as good as the second half. If we had a genuine goal scorer, we'd have won the league weeks ago. Interesting point, actually, that, Grant. We've not really... When you look at the striker, we've got 3 players on 8 goals, and not one of them is a striker. We've got 2 wingers and a midfielder on 8 goals. In fact, it's 1 winger and 2 midfielders on 8 goals when I look back at it. We've not had, a definitive number 9. I think going forward, that'll be the biggest issue to address in the summer.
Yeah, that's true. It leads me to a question, but I'll wait till we've done the match review and I'll ask it to get the 2 your thoughts.
I think I know what's coming. Bert, we weren't brilliant, we weren't bad, we just lost a bit of something once Arfield and Oliver went off. SP offshore, need to stop parking the bus like that. We did the same thing at Livy, pulling back too deep and letting the opposition play. Again, just talking about dropping that deep. Dylan says, even if This is a Livy supporter actually, Dylan, says, even if we win today, which they did, it's still your title. I know you want it confirmed over the line ASAP. Most of our fans are resigned to it. When we went keep drawing games at the start of March, that's what happened. Even when we beat you, I'll correct your grammar there, Dylan, even when we beat you to have a glimmer of hope, we go lose the next game. So that was from Dylan, who's a Livy supporter. So they've kind of consigned themselves, as has David Martindale, as has Scott Brown, but obviously we're Falkirk supporters, we cannot consign ourselves, and there'll be no departing of the Wayne train until it is over the line. Casky Boy says, thought we were quite poor. Second half started to play football towards the end, it cost us the win. We are better than that, though Barney looked gubbed after 5 minutes. Fuck this, champions again, chant until the league's won. 3 to go. You're singing my song, Casky Boy. 3 more massive games to go. Before forgetting, Falkirk Daft rated Falkirk Dafty of the week. Grant, what are you going to ask? And I think I know what it is going to be.
No, it's a question, obviously, if you were to pick one player from any team in the Championship to improve us going to the Premiership next season, who would you pick?
George Oakley. He's the George Oakley or Curtis Main, a big goal scoring striker like that who's a nuisance. Dylan Easton. But I think we've got Arfield and Nesbitt there, so don't think you need Dylan Easton.
Who's the left back? Is it Partick Thistle?
Well, do you know what? I'll let you into Harry Milne. Are you thinking of Harry Milne? He went to Hearts.
Yeah, no, that's another. I can't remember who it is, but that's just an open question. I've no got it.
No, it's interesting. I'll let you behind the curtain. I actually just we recorded the Raith Rovers preview, which we're about to hear in a minute, with Shaughan McGuigan, and we talk about the Timo Championship Team of the Year, and that was the one area that we were really struggling to find, was a left back and potentially a left winger, because I don't know if Ethan Ross has done quite enough to get into the Championship Team of the Year. Jay Henderson, I think, is probably the one that probably gets in. So I think Jay Henderson probably gets in, but the left back, I don't think there's a really standout left back in the Championship this season. That's a position that we do, I think, need to strengthen. I would think.
I think one of the best left backs in the division is probably Mason Hancock for Ayr, who's been injured for a large spell of the season, and I thought he was very impressive against us, and I think he scored when they beat Queens 5-0.
Yeah.
So he's someone that I wouldn't mind having.
Funnily enough, you're about to hear that in chat when we talk about the Championship Team of the Year in just a bit with Sean as we preview the Raith game. But yeah, it's a good question. I think come the end of the season, it's certainly one that we should be discussing on this podcast, is if we are champions, where do we need to improve? And I think left back, striker, and a big fuck off ball winning midfielder is probably the positions I would put as priorities.
It's nice at times when somebody's angry.
Yeah, we need a 6'5" Paddy Craig is what we need.
I was going to say Stephen Thompson.
Or Stephen Thompson. Stephen, both absolutely great shouts, and who did as well in the Premiership last.
Who have we got coming in the summer? We've got Connor Allen, who is 6'4", I think.
Yeah.
For Kelty.
But has he got the experience, Josh? That's the question. We'll wait and see. I mean, look what happened with Keelan Adams this season.
Did Keelan or Barney have experience?
True. We will wait and see what happens. Anyway, good chat for later on in the season. Right, Falkirk Daft rated from that match then, gentlemen. Josh, I will come to you first.
We'll give it to Saki. I think the first 10-15 minutes he was targeted by Ayr, and I think he just managed it so well. I think defensively he was solid. He got his strike. He got some great crosses in the box. His overlapping was always an option. So got to give it to Big Saki.
Saki, and for that hit, Grant, what are you thinking?
I'm saying Nicky kept us in the game, and the heads didn't go down, allowed us to kick on. Because obviously heads could have went down if we conceded. So I think Nicky.
I'm going to go against there's 3 different ones here. I'm going to say Cole Donaldson. I thought Cole was an absolute warrior, and I thought I think if he'd maybe been on the pitch, I don't think we're losing that goal at the end. Maybe that's a wee bit too harsh on Big Luke, but I would say Cole Donaldson. So, right, how do we decide this? Is it Nicky? Is it Cole? Or is it Saki? I think we've just got to give it to Saki for the goal. We've just got to give it to Sean Mackie for the goal, because he played on top of getting the goal. Like I say, he had that chance that he set up for Barney He's always decent at getting a decent delivery into the box, Sean, as well. So Sean Mackie gets his first Falkirk Daft rated of the season. Who are we going for the Dafty of the week? Is there anyone that gets the Dafty?
Macho Libra in the away end with his balaclava and his wrestling suit on.
Someone's in the way in with a wrestling suit on.
They typical masks standing on the wall celebrating.
Right, okay, so a luchador was in there, the Ayr luchador. We'll give it to... Any other suggestions, Josh?
Groundsman, Ayr United groundsman.
Absolutely, 100% Ayr United groundsman.
He was busy in the racecourse.
Ayr United groundsman, absolutely, because it was a shocking state of a pitch. So yeah, let's give it to the Ayr United groundsman. Brilliant. Well, that's all the business done. I'm going to skip over Falkirk Daft rated. I will not put you two under that pressure because I don't know how I'd even work it anyway. So, and I think Ross would be unhappy if you lost a point, and especially Josh, since you're a serial loser at Falkirk Daft versus. So
who won last time?
Sorry, what? You're breaking up there. Sorry, the internet connection must be going down.
What was that?
It was all about the live event anyway. Grant, thank you for being our guest pundit this week, mate. Really appreciate your time. You're coming to Falkirk Daft Live for?
I will be.
Of course you will be. Brilliant. Well, I'll see you at the bar for that. And fingers crossed, 3 more games to go, and hopefully we'll be celebrating a trophy lift on that day, so we'll wait and see. But thanks for coming on, Grant. If you want to be a pundit next season, get in touch with us right now, pundit@falkirkdaft.co.uk, or slide into our DMs like a long lost lover on Facebook or Twitter.
This is Falkirk Daft.
With Behind the Wall, we're navy blue. Are you?
As usual on Falkirk Daft, we like to look ahead to our next opponents, and it's a man who's joined us several times on the podcast this season. He is a star of television, he is a star of podcasting. It is Mr. Shaughan McGuigan. Thank you for coming back on Falkirk Daft. Glad we didn't scare you off, Sean.
Hello there. Thanks for having me. Thanks for that introduction. Again, not entirely sure I'm a star, but thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Listen,
good to be here.
It always annoys. I have to admit, I'm an avid listener of the Lower League Terrace podcast, Sean, and it always really annoys me when you and Craig aren't together. You bring in the substitutes, but it's just not the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm trying to think of some 90s reference or some wrestling reference that I can drop in here to make you feel at home, but I'm struggling off the top of my head. It was let's bring in a wrestling reference. It's there was a moment when the Shield tag teamed Glasgow and it wasn't the full Shield lineup, and they brought in Triple H, which was a great substitution, to be fair, but it didn't feel the same. So there you go, making you feel at home, Sean.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And funnily enough, do you know what I was thinking about, actually? So unless something really quite cataclysmic happens, next season will be the first time that myself and Telfer will do a lower league podcast and we can't discuss Falkirk. Now, I think we've been doing it, the lower league podcast, ever, what is it, 10, 12 years maybe? And we've always either pointed at Falkirk and laughed, or complimented them, or neither, I suppose. But it feels like that next year we won't be able to discuss Falkirk at all. So that's quite interesting, I suppose.
There'll be a dip in listeners if the big dogs go back up to the Premiership, Sean, because obviously attendance FC is a lot of the Championship teams like to refer to us as. We take a bit of clout with us if we move up the leagues, but let's just discuss that because Falkirk are 3 games away from winning the title. We only need 3 points. There is the chance when we meet Rovers on Saturday at 3 p.m, we may have won the league technically if Livingston lose against Ayr on Friday evening. Going into the game, Raith have got a lot to chase for in terms of winning that 4th place. Partick seem to have shat the bed in the last 2 games. How are you feeling going into the game, Sean?
Interesting question. So from a Raith perspective, I thought it was a long shot. Even before Saturday, I thought it was a long shot because it was based on 2 things. So it required Raith to pick up a lot of points from 4 games. Probably 10, maybe 9 or 10 points from 4 games. And even based on that, you still required favours from other teams to take points off of Partick Thistle. Now, I expected Partick Thistle to beat Hamilton. That hasn't been the case. Rovers got a point against Airdrie, so we've closed the gap, so it's 2 points. But I still think that based on this Saturday, Raith have to match Partick's result against Dunfermline. Now, if Partick lose against Dunfermline, that's fine. But if Partick win, then Raith probably have to match that. And I must admit, I do think that is a big ask based on everything that's involved and everything that in terms of Falkirk as a club and a fan base going into this game, it feels a lot to potentially think that Raith could sneak a result, I suppose.
I mean, in fairness for the season, though, there's not been a massive amount between the sides. I mean, obviously, we came to your place, you ended our unbeaten run, which was, we had the McGuigan Tears bar and all that sort of stuff from the club. Then, I mean, the game we played at the stadium, I honestly think was one of the easiest games we played this season. Yeah. I was so surprised at what Raith Rovers side turned up in that match. Then, obviously, away at Starks, we absolute shit-fest the game. Because you'd beaten us in the Scottish Cup in the previous week. So that I don't think there's been a massive gulf between the teams. Barry Robson seems to have... he seems to be getting the team motoring again. How have you found the change of management, and how have you found Barry Robson as a manager?
It's interesting. I think that Barry Robson has certainly made us better. He certainly made us more difficult to beat. There is very much a kind of... how would you describe it? He seems to be picking... Do you know something? I think the thing that maybe sums up his tenure so far is maybe in the middle of the park. So like Ross Matthews gets a game every week. Now, I like Ross Matthews. He's been at the Raith for a long time. Now, this might be his 10th or 11th season. But I do think that he is workmanlike.
Yeah.
His effort, you cannot fault. I don't think he's a particularly great player, but Barry Robson prefers him in midfield to Sean Byrne. Now, Sean Byrne, I think, is a far better footballer than Ross Matthews. Keeps play better. I think is a better passer of the ball. I think he's a better tackler. All those attributes that you want. But regardless, he doesn't cover the amount of yards that Ross Matthews does. And that's why Ross Matthews gets a game each and every week ahead of Sean Byrne. So that probably sums up Robson's tenure so far. I think it's been decent. Listen, with whatever it is, 6 or 7 games unbeaten. When Robson came in, there was still a suggestion that Raith could get sucked in at the kind of murky stuff at the bottom of the division. But now we're only 2 points behind top 4. I think we've probably given ourselves a wee bit too much to do, but nevertheless, as much as I haven't necessarily taken to Robson as a manager as such, I don't particularly like listening to him. I find his style of play a bit kind of agricultural at times, I suppose. Yeah. There's a lot of long ball involved. Nevertheless, he ultimately is job done. He's like Raith won't be getting relegated. They still have a chance of making top 4. That's what Robson was brought in to do. So I can't argue with it so far.
Yeah, no, I think there has been a slight change in fortunes. I mean, we spoke to you earlier in the season, Sean, where you were just resigned to being involved in the murky stuff down there. Mm-hmm. But to find yourself in this position where, Thistle in the last 2 games of, lost to Airdrie and then at the weekend there to Hamilton, 2 teams fighting for their lives. Rather disappointingly, I was hoping to go into this game where Raith Rovers had very little to play for, but Thistle have really put a pin in that, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, how confident... I mean, obviously, with Raith Rovers having something to play for in this game on Saturday, it's not a dead rubber, and that's unfortunate from a Falkirk perspective, especially if Livingston go on to get a result on Friday evening. You could spoil our title party at the stadium.
So it's funny you should say that in terms of hoping that somebody would stick a pin of it. My my journey in terms of Raith managing to qualify for the playoffs involved Falkirk winning on Friday night against Ayr. That's what I was cheering on. And then Livingston losing on Saturday against Morton. I was hoping that between this weekend and next weekend, the entire Falkirk squad would be on the randan, and then they'd turn up on Saturday, hungover, reeking of Madry, and then Raith would maybe like taking on the town. However, that's not quite the case, unfortunately. So I listen. If I'm trying to think what I hope for going into this game. Ultimately, I think, unfortunately, if Falkirk turn up and they are in the mood and they play well, then Raith will struggle. They can make it difficult for this Falkirk team because Barry Robson's Raith feel like a slightly different proposition than Neil Collins, for example. But yes, if Falkirk turn up and fancy it, we will struggle to contain them and counter them on the break, I suppose.
Yeah, have you got any injury? Finlay Pollock obviously ruled out for the season now. Sean, he's been very good, I think, for you since he's joined. Is there any other injury worries that Raith have going into the game?
Off the top of my head, no, not necessarily. You're right. So Pollock is now unfortunately went back to Hearts, and as much as I thought he was, I don't think his loan spell has been great, but he has given us an extra dimension. I suppose he has pace.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like yourself, myself, we watched a lot of lower league football over the last, whatever it is, X amount of years. But you don't, you'll see players that have quality or technical ability or physicality or pace. But it feels like Falkirk have all of that. Like they have players that are technically good, physically good, that they're quick as well. And I think Raith, without Pollock, don't have that kind of pace, which is one thing that now we might struggle with. That's one thing that we don't necessarily have going into this game.
Yeah.
But yes, in terms of the rest of the squad, everybody seems reasonably fully fit, with the exception of Vaughan, who is just coming back after missing the vast majority of this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. You didn't mention the word Dylan Easton there. I was hoping he might have picked up a knock at the weekend there. In Dylan Easton, you have a little. Oh, honestly, I can't stand it. I'd love to say lovely things about Dylan Easton, but I can't sit here and say it. But he is a match winner for you. I mean, that was exemplified the other week there with an absolute, probably, I'm guessing, Raith Rovers goal of the season. But, you know, and probably I would say for me, in terms of the championship, he's a shoo-in for the championship team as well. And he's definitely one that I don't like seeing against Falkirk.
No, and rightly so. And he has been... I think without him, then Raith might be in the same kind of boat as Dunfermline or Queen's Park or Hamilton, for example. Maybe more Hamilton, for example. But no, I think that his has been his... myself and Telford talked him up in the first half of last season about him being one of the best players in the division.
Yeah.
He went off the boil maybe from January onwards. However, this season, he has been absolutely phenomenal in terms of the goals he scored, in terms of the assists he's had, in terms of just that almost like in the leadership, I suppose, in terms of this Raith team. No, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, like I always, when I see him, he winds up he's one of these players that you love to have in your team, but you just hate coming up against. And like, do you think? Is there any other players that would be in contention for that championship team of the season out with the Easton, Sean?
From a Raith perspective?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't think so. And I think that's why the season has been so frustrating. Maybe like Paul Hanlon's been okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was questions asked about him when that signing first came in. I think he's been reasonably solid at centre half. In terms of anybody else, no, probably not. I think we're fifth in the championship because we have a squad that is ultimately kind of okay. mediocre by championship standards. I think that there was a suggestion that last season was where Raith missed out in terms of not pipping Dundee United to the title. I don't agree with that. Like Dundee United ended up with 75 points. To top trump that would have been very difficult. I think this season has been where we've missed out. Not in terms of challenging Falkirk, but just if we've had a presence up front, I think this Raith team finishes in the playoffs quite easily, but we didn't address it, and that's ultimately why we're going to miss out. Well, listen, we might.
I honestly
I'm not sure.
I honestly don't think you'll miss out. I think Partick Thistle, the last two results have kind of shown them up a bit, because they were drawn games and they were getting by games. But I do think Raith Rovers have the momentum, and especially with 3 games to go, I think that's really, really important, because you run out of games ultimately. And I actually do think that Raith Rovers have that in them to go forth, and that worries me slightly for Saturday, I'll be honest with you.
I'm not sure. I'm interested. See if Falkirk do win the league on Saturday, will you run on a pitch?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be on the pitch, Sean. Listen, these moments come few and far between. A pitch invasion is like a stranger to me. We did it. I think I did. The only pitch invasion I've been involved in actually when the last game at Brockville, and last season we did 2 pitch invasions of the season. Like buses, they come along. We did Montrose, and we did the last game of the season against Aleph when we went invincible. I'll be on the pitch. Don't you worry about that, Sean.
Fair play. I've only done it twice, both times as a teenager. But no, I did wonder if you'd win about fair play.
Oh, a man in his 40s shouldn't be getting involved in the pitch invasion, but it doesn't happen often at Falkirk. You've got to take advantage of these situations, especially when you have artificial turf, which might have long. From the outside looking in, Sean, we're talking about the championship team of the season there. Is there anyone, like from a Falkirk perspective, you would have in that team?
What, in the championship team this season?
Yeah.
Probably lots.
Yeah, because me and Ross were discussing this last week. For us, there's a question of the goalkeeper, so it's Hogarth, Pryor or Ferry that gets the goalkeeping position. I'm not too sure who gets it out of those 3. Callum Ferry obviously has shipped a lot of goals recently, so maybe he falls out as a result. That's between Pryor and Hogarth then, I think. You look at the centre-half positions, I think Liam Henderson probably a shoe-in because he's going to be our player of the season. Danny Wilson, Ryan McGowan in there. Keelan Adams, I think, is maybe a shout at right back. Left back in terms of the championship team, I was trying to think if there is a left back out there. I don't know, but I was trying to think of a left back, because certainly I don't think Sean Mackie or Leon McCann, qualify despite Sean Mackie's wonder strike there on Friday. But the left back situation was like, I don't know who goes in there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And maybe that sums up the division. So yes, I don't think there's necessarily somebody who stands out, but Mackie might be in the equation. Do you know something? Under normal circumstances, see if Mason Hancock, for example, had been fit for the entire season, then yes, he becomes the best left back in the division by a mile. And it's interesting, he's just come back from injury. And I think he'd been quite good over the last couple of weeks, but he's probably not had enough performances or appearances to be the best left back. However, if he had, then yes, I would have him as the best left back. Interesting that, albeit I don't know if it was an April Fool or just somebody at it, but there was a suggestion on Pine Bovril that you had made some kind of approach for Hancock as a left back next season.
I'd be interesting. It's certainly a player I'd welcome, and it's certainly a position that we need to, I think, if we are to go up, is strengthen. Is that left back area. Leon McCann, as much as I really like Leon McCann, I don't think he has the physicality to be a Premiership left back. Sean Mackie, Sean Mackie well as well, having his time at Rovers. Good left back. He's got that, as we saw on Friday, he's got that in him to score goals. like that. But again, you worry about that left back situation, and you're right to say it's really hard. I think when you come to a championship team of the season to pick that left back. Because I don't think there's been a standout this season. But Hancock, if he had been playing all season, potentially one of them.
No, you're right. I mean, I suppose, again, in seasons going by, you'd say, well, it's Harry Milne. Harry Milne at Partick Thistle, but he's went to Hearts, so it's a wee bit harder than normal. But in terms of somebody who's just coming back from injury and who will potentially go on to good things, I would say Hancock.
Yeah, midfield for you, Sean. Who goes into the midfield? If we're playing a 4-3-3,
Brad Spencer has to be up there. I just think he's a superb footballer. Maybe Scott Pittman.
Yeah.
I know he's somebody who doesn't always get the credit until it isn't quite as bombastic as other players. But I think he keeps. I think he makes Livingston a much better team over and above that. And something, I'd probably have to think about it a wee bit, but that would certainly be my first two. What about you?
I think actually looking at it, I don't think Falkirk in midfield. Brad Spencer gets it for me because he's a wonderful footballer to watch. I mean, are you surprised at how much he's come on since his Rovers days?
No, because I don't think he's necessarily come on. He's just somebody who very rarely makes a mistake. Mm-hmm. It's just a calm, composed footballer. I don't think he's necessarily hugely better now than what he was at Raith Rovers. I thought he was fantastic at Raith Rovers.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that transfers into the Premiership, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does really well, because I've always really liked him. But like him, like a load of players in this Falkirk squad, fascinated to see how that transfers into top flight. I suppose.
It's all ifs, Sean. It's still all ifs.
Oh, come on!
I'm not. Listen,
you've won
I'm still not singing champions again. Still not doing it.
You've won the league.
Still not doing it. I think 10. I think Easton gets the 10 for me. I think if Arfield had been in since the start of the season, Arfield gets in. But I think. And I wouldn't, though in saying that, I wouldn't be surprised with the way obviously players vote that Arfield would get into the team of the year. But I think if he'd been at the start of the season, he would have made it. But Easton gets the 10. Calvin Miller for me gets the right.
Yes.
The left, I don't know. I don't know if Ethan Ross has done enough to get in. He started off the season flying, but I don't know if he gets in at the left. Thoughts?
I agree. I agree what you mean. I like Ross. It was funny, when he left Raith. They're like, oh, that's fine. That's fine. No, he's not good enough for us. And then he's become exceptional for Falkirk. But you're right. I think it's too hot and cold for a player here. I would have to have a wee look at it. Wide left. Good question, to be fair. Not sure.
Again, that left-hand side seems to be, there's no massive standout down that left-hand side. I mean, Keelan Adams and I think Miller for us have been excellent down the right, especially with Cal Morrison. Mm-hmm. Miller switching onto the kind of inverted role, but the left-hand side I think is a bit of more of a question.
I suppose what you're there, if we can't decide who's down the left, it's then who is the focal point up front.
Is it Oakley? Is it Oakley gets in there, doesn't he?
I think yes, because you've got loads of examples. So Brian Graham's got more goals.
Yeah.
I think off the top of my head. Falkirk have players in terms of Oliver and McKeever who are probably more players who can keep defenders occupied rather than goal scorers. Whereas Oakley has probably done a wee bit of both. He's got 16 goals this season and a bit of a bully in terms of how he can challenge defenders. So yes, I do think he's probably been the best focal point in the championship.
Yeah, no, what an interesting conversation. But yeah, I think, like you say, from a Rovers perspective, I think Easton's the one that probably gets straight into setting. I wouldn't be surprised if he is in the 10. In saying that though, with the players voting it might be Arfield just because it's Scott Arfield playing in the Championship. So we'll wait and see what it has. So looking ahead to Saturday, Sean, predictions for the score?
Prediction for the score. I suspect that Raith will do okay. I think they will keep Falkirk at bay for the vast majority of the game. However, I think that it just feels like there are certain narratives that are you just can't keep at bay. And so the fact that Shaughan McGuigan has been obviously the manager at Raith for so long, now at Falkirk, the fact that there was the kind of League One season when the two of us went head to head, that Raith won the season that was cut short due to COVID, it just feels like Falkirk will turn this around and it'll be close. But I can imagine it being quite a late goal and Falkirk will win 1-0 or 2-1.
See if it's a late goal, the place will erupt. I mean, it's set to be a sellout. Obviously, Raith have only taken half the north stand. Falkirk Sports on the other half of the stand as well. So it's set to be a huge game and hopefully a good night out in Falkirk. But like I say, I'm not, as we always say in the podcast, not counting my chicken nuggets under my chips just yet, because but I'd say that if Livingston get beat off here, which I actually can see happening on Friday, it'll be some party at the stadium come Saturday, so really looking forward to it. Sean, thank you for joining us this season. It's been a pleasure having you on. Just in case Craig hasn't told you, if you want to pull him up in the next Terrace podcast, Craig is doing a Falkirk event. We booked him as almost like heel tag team alongside you and Cameron.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's never told me this.
Has he not told you this?
No,
he's at the next Falkirk Daft Live ahead of the Hamilton game. Craig is coming along to review the season alongside you and Cameron. So do you know what? Going back to the wrestling terms, we've went like me and Ross are the faces, and we've went full heel with Craig and you and Cameron coming on to review Falkirk's season. It should be an interesting time in Behind the Wall come the 2nd of May. If you're available, you'll be at the Rovers game, no doubt, Sean. But if you are available and you want to come down and throw things at him, you're more than welcome.
This is fascinating. I'll tell you what, I'll be bringing this up the next time I see him. But listen, I hope it all goes well. And I would imagine that most Falkirk fans will boo him. Listen, rightly so.
Absolutely, that's why he's been booked. He's absolutely healing up. I believe Craig wants to walk out. I said, Craig, what do you want to walk out? He said, the NWO theme. So I believe he's walking out like Hulk Hogan in his pomp in WCW. So I'm looking forward to having you. In terms of plugging stuff, Sean, Terrace Lower League podcast available every Thursday. The TV show, how long's it got to go?
Yes, so Terrace Lower League podcast comes out every Thursday. A View for the Terrace has got another couple of weeks to go. Then hopefully we have another series next year.
Oh, just one more series. Just need one. It's like Partridge. Just one more series. Just give another series. That's all we're asking for, Lynn. There you go. There's your 90s reference for you. Sean, thanks so much for joining us on Falkirk Daft today.
No worries. Take care. Thanks for having me.
This is Falkirk Daft.
With Behind the Wall. Stay local, eat and drink global.
And that's just about it for this week's Falkirk Daft. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you to our sponsors, the Falkirk Football Fans in Training, obviously Behind the Wall, and these guys sponsor the podcast and keep us in the life that we're used to, and certainly keep Ross in hospitality for the rest of the season. The Lava Cup is coming. It's the 24th of May at the stadium. It's all kicking off at 10:30 with all the games kicking on from 11. It's free to get in there, and any donations will be most welcome because it's got two charities this year, and that's Maggie's Forth Valley and Andy's Man Shed. So get down, donate money, and watch as teams from across Europe swarm upon the Falkirk Stadium. It's really grown in the short period of time it's been going, and it so happened that the Falkirk Stadium for the last couple of seasons it's basically a chance to get international football and give those boys that are in their 40 to 75 age group, Josh, you're far too young for it, the chance to come along. Great for your mental health, great to make new friends. If you're fed up of your old friends, get along to the Falkirk Football Fans in Training, and you might get involved with the Lava Cup. It's still not that late. They're down at the stadium training every Monday at 8 to 9, every Tuesday, 7:30 to 8:30. Or the Super Vets football is happening on a Friday down at the stadium, and that's strictly for over 50s. Again, Josh, you're far too young for that. And it's old school 5-a-side rules, and that's Friday between 5 and 6. But yeah, as I say, Lava Cup is the big thing. It's happening at the stadium. Get in your diaries right now, and that's the 24th of May. Get down to the stadium, support the boys who will be coming off against the likes of Nottingham Forest, Icelandic teams, I think there's Dutch teams in there. It's going to be some event down at the stadium, and like I say, two great charities, local charity Mackie's, Forth Valley, and Andy's Man Shed as well. You can support them by getting down and getting involved. And if you want to get involved with the Falkirk Football Fans and Training, the links are below. Speak to Ian, Wally or Dougie for that. Josh, thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. I'm about to put you in, have a think of a random Falkirk player as I mention the people that go on the Marcus Haber roll of honour. Joe, Archie, Colin, Elsa, Grant, Dell, PGM, James, Dougie, Paul and Ali, who I met down at the stadium when I was getting my dodgy Spall top, retro top the other day there, and I was like, I've got a brick, you know the bricks, Josh, that are along the front and the walk up in the stadium walk. I've got a brick there, right? And I swear to God, now people might be able to help me out here. I think they moved the bricks because I cannot find my brick. Me and my brother's brick, John McAnally and David McAnally, as far as I remember, it was in the second, as you walk into the stadium, it's the second one down on the left-hand side. I cannot find my brick. I did see a few Heggies though, right enough. You don't have a brick, but have you got family that have got a brick?
I think my uncle might have a brick.
Yeah, so. There was a couple of Heggie bricks, and I thought, I wonder, because I was looking for your name, because I thought generally all the families are together on it, and I couldn't see your name, Josh. But there was definitely a couple of Heggies here. But I can't find my own name. So if you are down at the stadium, or the bricks have been moved, you can maybe confirm that to me, because I can't find it. So if anyone can find the John McAnally brick down at the stadium, please take a picture of it and send it to me, because I was sitting honestly for about 5-10 minutes looking for it, and Ali, who shouted over to me, Marcus Haber, and I was like, oh, he can't find his brick either. So thanks to Ali, who was down at the stadium on Friday when I was picking up my top. But we do need a random Falkirk player for people to tweet us for next week, Josh, and I'm putting you in this position to choose someone. Who is it going to be?
I'm going to go with Daniel Marchetta.
Daniel, have we had Marchetta before? I don't.
Have we had him?
I think we might have had Marchetta before. I'm happy.
All right, let's think of another one then. We'll go with William Edgingwelly.
The Edge. Oh, and I love it. I can't wait to see the spellings of William Edgingwelly for this one. We just used to call him the Edge because he was the Edge. I was actually on loan from Dundee United, and was that the Hartley? Was that the relegation season? I think it was.
Oh, probably. Were we in League One at that point?
No, I think it was I actually think it was the relegation season. Maybe.
I remember he did all right for his first few games.
Aye.
And then, did he not get injured or something?
Aye, he did. So, there we go. Edgingwelly is your random Falkirk player to message us to get on the roll of honour for next week. There you go. Any other business to conclude, Josh? I feel that, with Ross's absence, he normally takes the minutes at this point. So I'm not.
We spoke about contract extensions. Did we mention Gary Gold's getting his contract?
We mentioned that on last week's show. It was breaking news on last week's show. We got the Gary Golds. We've ticked off Algeman. We've ticked off the fiasco in the retro kits. We've ticked off the Ayr United game. We've ticked off previewing the Raith Rovers game. I think we're all ticked off. I think we're good to go. We can all go and watch the Masters or the Newcastle game now, Josh. You'll be going for the Masters, I suspect.
Obviously.
And that is it then for Falkirk Daft. Let's tie a bow on this episode. Thank you very much for listening. If you get us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, you maybe are on Deezer. I don't know who listens to the podcast on Deezer, but someone does. Please let us know if you do that. Or let us know where you listen to your podcast. What's your preferred podcast platform? Let us know. You might watch us on YouTube. You'll see the beautiful Josh Heggie. Definitely improvement and younger than Ross Wayne. I would say definitely more handsome. and yeah, certainly a younger model as well. So ladies' favourite is what many people describe Josh as. If you want to hear his dulcet tones, you will hear him on Falkirk TV. Pop by the commentary box, say hello to Josh. He would love that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, come say hi to me and Sean and Drew. We're happy to see you in the stadium.
I mean, don't say hi to them when they're in the middle of commentary, because that would be probably quite rude. And for the viewers of Falkirk TV watching across the world, probably quite annoying as well if people just kept coming up and going, "Hi, Josh!" And then you would feel forced to say hi back and not be rude, and then you'd maybe miss an Arfield goal. So yeah, do say hi to Josh. You know where he is in the stadium, and he'll be back next week because Ross is still at his cheerleading competition and might win the league title, getting won potentially on Saturday. I would hate if that would happen. I feel really, really bad for him, but at the same time, I'd find it quite hilarious. But yeah, there we go. And it would maybe stop him from going on about me missing the Hearts Cup game if I was to go back to him and say, "You missed us winning the title to go back up to the Premiership after 15 years. And what were you doing?" "Yes, you were watching cheerleaders in Florida." Smashing. Thanks, Josh. Get us on YouTube, see the lovely Josh, as I said, and get merch now, merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk or pintsandprints.co.uk. Check out the Falkirk collection. There's a Falkirk Dafty t-shirt, you can have that. There's a Falkirk 316 t-shirt, you can have that. There's also just a straight Falkirk Daft with a red tee. So if you like drinking tents and like Falkirk and like this podcast, what better t-shirt could you have in your life than a Falkirk Daft with a red t-shirt? I mean, it ticks all the boxes. There are new editions coming soon, however. Very excited about this. We're not going to put them in release till the game is done. You'll probably be able to guess what kind of t-shirts are coming soon. But they are going to happen. They're going to be up in Pints and Prints. I met Gordon in the pub today. I have had a couple of Guinnesses, by the way, to full disclosure. I had a couple of Guinnesses because my mate was up from England and was heading to the airport. And he says, "You want to make a couple of pints?" I did do that. So anyway, met Gordon, long story cut short, he does Pints and Prints. He's going to get the new t-shirts, and he's got lots of new t-shirts on the way in pintsandprints.co.uk, depending on if we win the league or not. I am hoping that is the case. Josh will be back with me next Monday, or whenever you listen to your podcast. He'll be back with me next week, where we're hoping to speak about Falkirk returning to the Premiership. Oh my God. It's within touching distance now. I can feel it. I'm getting excited. I'm getting aroused. That's probably more information than you need to know. But listen, it's going to be a fantastic time, Josh. And it's so close. You can taste it.
Just got to be patient though. The guys will get it done. And hopefully we can get a moment that we win it ourselves this year.
In the words of Take That, Josh, you couldn't have said it better. Have a little patience. That was one of their songs, wasn't it? So anyway, yeah, thanks for listening to Folk Daft. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you on the next one. You're going to have to do Ross's line. Come on. We'll gear you up for this, right, Ross? Go be Ross.
Unexpected.
We're Falkirk Daft. We're Falkirk Daft. Talking about the dark blues and having a bit of a laugh. We're Falkirk Daft. We're Falkirk Daft. You can listen in the pub or you can listen in the bath. We're Falkirk Daft. We're Falkirk Daft. For everyone who's caring about being a Falkirk bairn, we're Falkirk Daft. We are Falkirk Daft.